Hi, I'm Scott Elliott. I'm the artistic director of the new group. And I want to say welcome to our Why We Do It series, which is a conversation series that we put together at this crazy moment when we can't actually be in a theater. And so we wanted to, or perhaps needed to, remind ourselves why we are in the theater in the first place. And why do we keep returning to it despite its many challenges? This current shutdown being one of many, many challenges that we've experienced over the years. Now, this is the new group's 25th anniversary of producing off Broadway. And so, as a company, we were already reflecting on our past and looking forward to what's next. And the last couple of months, of course, have only accentuated the need for that. But what keeps coming up are our relationships. And the folks joining me for these conversations are artists who've worked with us for many years and have in many ways set the tone for our company, not to mention for the American theater as a whole. I happen to also love talking to them, and I'm hoping to squeeze some new inspiration out of them because certainly sitting alone inside all day, inspiration is a good thing. So we're happy to be bringing you this series free on Facebook and YouTube live, but we do need your support if you can reach into your pockets and see a way to give anything. We'll take anything. Everything is tax deductible, and there are a few ways to support us. We're accepting donations at our website, which is www.thenewgroup.org, and any amount is deeply appreciated. Or even better, after these conversations, we have a Drinks With series where we have our little virtual cocktail party with our artist guest tonight, Bobby Cannavale. And as you know, after a couple of drinks, we all start to spill the good stuff. And we'd like to get to know you better too. So check out our website if you want to make a donation or if you want to reserve your spot for the Drinks With. And with that, I'd like to welcome my pal, Bobby Cannavale. Hi, Bobby.
Hi, Scott.
How
Hi.
are ya?
I'm good, over here.
You're hanging in there?
Piece of sun-dappled light. Yeah,
Yeah.
hanging in there.
Yeah, good. That's good to know. Yeah, it's quite a moment.
I mean, here we are talking. We're not in the same room, but we're not. And we're talking to many people, presumably, hopefully, but we can't see them either. We don't know who they are.
Or what they look like, more importantly.
What they look like,
Yeah, that's the
I
most
mean,
important thing.
at least in a dark theater, we can hear things and be like, "The fuck, shut up." Shh, I heard that,
Exactly.
But here, maybe it's better. Maybe
I know, you
actually it's
sort of wonder.
better.
I mean, the last time I was in the theater, was it was your show. I think that was the last show that I saw, whereas you and Rose in.
You came pretty much, yeah, you
Yeah, I
came
saw you the
almost when it was
last
over.
week. I think it was like your
Yeah,
last week,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it was the last show I saw. It was the last experience that I had sitting in this theater seat, which was, of course, a treat, and seeing you guys afterwards. But who knew what was
Who
ahead?
knew, man? I mean, we really got out literally just in time. And I am happy that we are the last thing that we did. We did go the last night the theater was open. On
Mhm.
Wednesday night, we saw Conor McPherson's play on that Wednesday night.
Right.
The
Oh, that
the
was the
the,
last
Bo-
night it was
the
open.
Dylan.
We closed Bob and Carolyn, Ted and Alice that night too. But the couple of nights before that, it was terrifying. I was getting notes from Valerie, our stage manager, our friend Val, saying
Yeah.
that people in the audience were wearing face masks and had gloves on, and so it was really.
Whoa.
Yeah, people were still
Oh, I
coming
didn't know
though,
that.
which I think is really cool. I mean, they were scared, but they were still coming.
You know
And
what's so funny is it's like we knew it was we knew that like I think they're gonna shut it down soon. We didn't think it was gonna be the next day, but we went to see, like I said, Girl from the North Country, and afterwards I had a couple friends in the cast, and they asked me if I wanted to come back, and I was like, yeah, of course. And I go back, and for people who don't know, the theater, of course, has PR itself, and there was Bruce Gleekus. And I was like, "What are you doing here?" And he's a photographer, Broadway theater
yeah, we all know
photographer,
Bruce.
esteemed,
Hi,
famed
Bruce. Maybe you're watching.
photographer. Hi,
Yeah.
Bruce. And it was hilarious because you come back and he's like, "Don't get too close to me." And I'm like, "But how are you going to take pictures of us? This is a huge cast." He's like, "Oh, we all come together for a picture." And it was what happened. We all said hello with elbows, and then when it was time to take a picture, we all were like, "Hey!"
Yeah, well, we
Put
know
our
you
arms around
were
each
at
other.
our gala, our 25th anniversary gala, and people
Two
were
days
first
before
touching
that.
elbows and then hugging, and I think I must have hugged 400 people that night or and kissed 200 of
Yeah.
them, and luckily, I escaped, or maybe I'm one of those people that got it and I'm spreading it to everybody else. Hopefully not.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well,
enough on that horror.
yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about I don't know what we're sort of talking about in these conversations. We had our first one last week with Cynthia Nixon, and that was really fun. It really took me someplace just talking about what we do and and why we do it. It's funny. I
Yeah.
was thinking because often I think, and I've been thinking as I get ready for these conversations about like when I first met you. And I first met you before you met me because I saw you in Station Agent. That was the first. That was my introduction to you, and you were with Peter Dinklage, who of course is another new group
Yeah.
person that we love working with. And then I I was just blown away. I was like, who is this character? Like meaning you.
Uh,
And then we met on to do Hurlyburly together,
well, it
and
was good timing because Station Agent came out probably when you were thinking about doing Hurlyburly because it
it
was
was.
like that year or the year after or something that we
It
did it.
was. It was right around that. I think I might have gone to a
Yeah.
screening of it, and I was like, "Who is that guy?" Because I hadn't met you, and I was putting Hurley-Bird
Yeah.
together, and
Yeah.
yeah, then I remember you came into my office, and funny, it's like one of the things that I love about you and your work, and is that to me, you're like you fall into that category of like human onion. You know what I mean? Like I feel like you peel and there's so many emotions and feelings under every layer. It's like, you peel it, you get something sweet, you peel it, you get something tart, you get something like a little
Oh,
acid,
that's nice.
and that's
Thanks,
what
Scott.
really no, but that's what attracted me to you in that movie. And then ultimately when we sat down and had our first meeting and ultimately worked on that great show together. But like, I know that a lot of that is talent because I'm convinced that, talent is really what separates the people who are amazing from the people who do it. And I was just wondering, like, where did that come from? I mean, your background is so interesting, and when did you tap into that thing? I mean, you must have known it, or some teacher must have said something to you about the way that your emotion is always is here, and that's
Well,
my
some
favorite actor. So
uh,
tell me.
some of that I believe a lot of that is nature as well, right? So
Mhm.
like I come from like a long line of like emotional Latin people, and so like I have a propensity, always did, for having a million things going on and all of them being visible, right? What I had to learn, again, the older I got, was like how to not show all of that at once so that I didn't scare people,
Right.
intimidate people, all that, and that I could protect myself because I grew up in a very emotionally kind of volatile home. Um, and you talk about the onion thing, right? Like, so, I also happen to be one of those types of people who do this because one of the things that interests me, that always has interested me, is about how funny people are, how weird we are, how strange we are, and how there's always got to be something else going on underneath whatever it is that we're witnessing. To me, I still think that way. To the sometimes the detriment of relationships, sometimes to the benefit of relationships. Good, great relationships. You want to know as much as you can about the person. And why do you do that? Is that a protective thing that you do when you do that? And all those kind of psychological questions I'm constantly in my head about. And so that's one of the reasons I love acting and working on a particular piece of material, especially if it's really good. And the writer knew what they were doing and writes multi-dimensional
Of
rich
course,
characters,
hard, as we know.
um, but whenever I get afforded the opportunity to do it, which is mostly on stage, that's why I do it, so that I can peel it back myself
Right,
and
right, right,
figure
right.
out what's really going on.
Yeah, but I noticed in our collaboration, and even in our collaboration, I'll speak with, that you are one of those people also that a director can say something to you, and you have this incredible access, and so to sort of make it your own or bring it to life. And so, did you learn that in a classroom, or did you learn that in high school, or when did you like, or we were talking a minute ago about neither one of us had went to real theater schools, and but
Yeah,
but where did you learn that, and how did you end up? I know you were in we went you weren't in like Circle Rep, or that was
yeah, Circle Rep.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's where
like
I
how
got
did that all
that's
happen?
like the first time that I had any kind of education formally in this thing. I
Because all
always
the
was
great actors
interested.
a lot of great actors came out of Circle Rep.
So many. Cynthia was in Circle
Yep.
Rep. She's
Mhm.
somebody member of Circle. But like really growing up, like anybody who ends up doing this, I was in all the plays and all that crap. But
Yeah.
like I never went. I went to parochial school. I went to Catholic school, and and I had a mentor in the church who like ran the theater department, and he ran the choir, and he ran the altar boys. He ran all of it. So like, but I didn't need him to be into it. Like I was already from a very young age into it. So I was pursuant of it, and I
But
don't
was
know.
it
I
something
think
that you saw that you like? Did you see a piece of material or a specific actor? What drew you? What drew? I mean, going to a Catholic school, that's a whole other thing. Like, but what drew you?
I think reading, like
Mm,
that's the earliest thing that I can remember, and that everybody that my family always taled about was how I was just buried in books from the time I was really, really little,
mm,
and I would read. I would read stories, and I read like at a very advanced age, and I read stories, and they were like voices in my head. They were like movies playing in my head, and I was obsessed with movies, and then I became obsessed with reading plays, and I just thought, like when I saw something really good on television, which is where we saw all our movies as kids, I was blown away by Rebel Without a Cause after
mm.
church one day. It was on in the afternoon, and I quoted that movie for like years from the time I was 8 years old. And like I drove my family crazy with it. And I was blown away by this guy who was like crying and getting the girl and being tough and being best friends with the different kid, and he did everything, and he got to experience all these emotions in 2 hours. And I remember really being blown away by that and being like, that looks hard. That's harder than it looks. That's really hard to do, because I knew I wasn't going to ever get to split the atom. So, I thought I decided that I wanted to really like dedicate myself to like figuring out, just always be thinking about psychology and why all insecurities, all that stuff. I'm just obsessed with it. And I don't think I would have learned that in school. At least
Yeah.
I didn't think I could. I
Oh
didn't have
God, no, you
access
never would
to it.
have. No, it's a
I didn't
whole,
have
it's a
access to
life
the
thing.
schools.
Yeah, I that's what
That's
I love. I mean, the spontaneity. I remember because I knew that you were a real play lover. That you had read. That when we had met, I remember you really knew Hurlyburly inside out even before we met. And
yeah,
and and
yeah.
and I know
But
that
that's
you
a real
have
actor's play too, right? I mean,
totally.
like a lot of actors know that play.
Yeah, right, right from the acting classes. Yeah, yeah,
That's
doing
what's
the
so great
monologues.
about doing that
Yeah,
play. We've
yeah,
always
yeah.
talked about that, Josh and Ethan and I. Like we're in that play that like all the acting students, like the one you pick up, like scenes from great plays. There's usually one in there, or monologues from great plays. There's usually one or two in there. Like the film monologue was in a monologue book that I had from when I auditioned. Once I figured out how to audition and like what getting backstage and going to auditions and doing two monologues. And I told you I did the film monologue um, from one of those monologue books. So Hurlyburly was
Oh, right.
special like that because it was like a touchstone play. The same as
Yeah.
doing any of those Sam Shepard plays would be, because you had that Sam Shepard collection of plays, you know?
Right. So yeah, it's that sort of yeah. You imagined it was that. I mean, I had that feeling about that play when I became a director that I always wanted to direct that play, and meaning Hurly Burly as well as
Yeah.
some of Sam's plays. But yeah, Hurly Burly was such an interesting experience because I think we all came to it with that sort of thing, and then we all came to
Yeah.
it and we connected in a way that was really sublime. Like I liken that experience to one of the greats, because it was such a,
Oh,
I
for
felt like
sure.
sometimes you get in a room with people and there's maybe one person who's not on the same page as everybody else, or it's a more of a challenge, but it felt like rehearsing that play was a joy because I thought it brought out the best in all of us in a
I think
way.
so.
And it was like because every time I watched it, it was one of those plays that, or one of those productions that we've done that I got joy every time I watched it because it was so spontaneous. There was an
Totally.
incredible spontaneity, and every
Yeah.
actor and from every walk, like Wally and obviously Ethan and all.
Yeah.
It was just everybody was in the moment in a way that was
Yeah. Yeah.
nutty.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it was, well, that was a once in a lifetime uh, experience for sure. Yeah. And everybody was in kind of the perfect place in their life to do that play, which for some people wasn't a great place.
Right. Yeah,
But
it's true.
in a great way, it worked. It worked kismet in a way, you know.
Toward the work. Yeah, there was a lot of inner struggles going on around that
I mean,
production, but
Ethan
it
and
was.
I have a bond over through that play because of what we were going through during rehearsal. That is like a forever and ever. That's
Yeah,
what, you know. It's incredible when that happens on any of these. You know, when you're
I
doing a
know it
play
is.
or
I mean,
anything.
I mean, I had met Ethan over the years, but I had never worked with him. And when we did Hurlyburly together, it was the beginning. We did like 5 things after that, like right back to back, and
Yeah,
it was really just, it was fun to be able to sort of build on that. You know what I mean? To sort of
yeah.
find something like that, and then you find a thing with somebody, and you just build and build and build on it.
By the way, also a great example though of, you know, talk about that play just for a second. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like it's a great play. Those characters have so much going on, and the fact that there are that many characters with that much agenda happening in their lives and in their interactions is there's a reason that play is considered a great play. So, you know,
Hmm.
there's just a great example of you know, why you do this thing, you know,
Yeah.
because
Well,
like you
somebody
said, you
like.
know, you always wanted to direct that play. There's a reason, because it's fucking like pretty much perfect play, and
Mhm.
there's richness to it that you can makes it just a really richly different experience every night because of how deep it can go, that play.
Yeah, you know, I think that's a David Rave thing also, because I find that in all of his plays that, you know, some writers have that uncanny ability to sort of layer emotion through dialogue that is incredible, and David is one of the greats. I think
Yeah.
the way that he's sort of able to sort of bring, you know, because I think writing plays is the hardest thing to write, because it's it's a really hard to write a great play. I mean, as we know, I mean, we always do a lot of plays and we love them, you know, but every
Yeah.
once in a while you come across one.
Very. Yeah.
Yeah. And so have you ever had one, have you ever worked on a play that eluded you, that you where you struggled through it? Have you ever had an experience where you got in a play, you don't even have to mention the play if you don't want to. Of course, it's interesting to know, but like where you didn't feel that and you were struggling, and what was that struggle like, and how do you deal with something like that?
You know, I suppose I should say, like, first off, that I have, and generally speaking, when things like that have happened, I move through them and I go, sometimes I'll never understand why I didn't get it. There's one play I'm thinking of in particular that I'm pretty obsessed with, and was a very obsessed with, and I don't know, we just never quite lifted, and I couldn't put my finger on what it was. Um, but
Was it a
you
new
know, a lot.
play or a
No, it was
revival?
an old play.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
an old play. It's a difficult play, and a play that was never really treated well by critics, or not that that matters, but like even when we did it this time, people I know, you know, were like, I just don't get it. And I don't know. I still think about it, and I don't know what it is. But every night I would be bothered by it, and I could never really put my finger on it. I couldn't tell if it was um, because the stakes of the play. I'll tell you, it's the big knife. It's the Odette's play.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
like
sure,
obsessed with
sure.
the
That's a
Odette's play.
challenging play, but a very good play.
It's a challenging
I
play, and
like
I
it a
think
ton.
that, like, you know, the lead character, this protagonist, is, you know, has got a lot. You know, he's like a man of great means and wealth and great riches,
Yeah.
and it's hard to empathize with that character, but I do. I can, you know, I can empathize with that character, and I found it challenging um, to get the character to a place where by the end of it that felt triumphant rather than what, you know, the end of that play is very tragic and he kills himself, and I don't know, I just never really could put my finger on it, but it's frustrating.
Does
But
it have anything to do with, you know, I always wonder about this. I'll ask you this. You know, the difference between playing a character like that on a very big Broadway stage as opposed to playing it intimately. You know, because I always sort of look at, sometimes I look at Broadway and I look at off Broadway and I compare the acting styles, and then I start sometimes to think like, huh, I wonder what that play would be like on Broadway, you know, or I wonder how that play would play in a more intimate
yeah.
place. And sometimes in the intimate places, I mean, I think I sometimes see actors able to sort of like, you know, find things that are harder to find when you're trying to reach, you know, 1,000 people.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I suppose you're right. I wonder what that play would be like. I guess I don't know. Scott. Like I remember when we were doing Hurlyburly and we ported it.
Oh, what happened to you? You went out, Bobby. Oh
Am
no.
I
Oh,
still
there you
there?
are. Oh, yep, there you are.
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Hold on, I don't hear you.
Oh no. You hear me? Hello? Oh,
Hang on. We're gonna figure this out
yeah,
quickly. Can you
technical
hear me?
difficulty. I hear you, but I don't see you.
I can't hear you.
Oh,
You are. Can you hear me?
I hear you. I don't see
Okay.
you.
Okay. Now I hear you and see you, and I'm in the corner. Let me see the
Okay.
video.
Oh, I see an icon in your place, not the camera.
How about now?
Well, I don't see you. I hear you. This is the. Oh, there you are. Ah,
Are we back? Are we
you're
back?
back. I see you. You're frozen, but you're there.
Now I'm frozen. Hold
Are you
on.
in a good Wi-Fi place?
I should be.
Oh, there you are. Now you're moving. Ooh, frozen again. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't. I'm frozen for some reason.
Well, maybe it will work out its kinks. You.
Uh, and I don't want it to happen again because for some reason the phone is linked to this iPad and somebody was trying to. How's that?
You're frozen, but I hear you.
Oh, damn it! Come on, work out. I haven't moved.
Oh, that's so. Oh, there you are. Oh,
Yeah, I know. I
you
keep coming in and then I
keep coming
freeze
in, and
again.
then it freezes you.
Refresh your browser. Okay, let me refresh the browser.
Okay. Sorry, everybody. We'll be back soon. Wish I had something interesting to say. Keep everybody engaged. Um, where is he?
How's
Oh,
that?
there you are.
I'm so
I'm
sorry.
so sorry.
Sorry.
I froze. I couldn't think of anything to say to anybody. I was like the worst host. I'm
So
sorry.
sorry. Sorry. Sorry, everybody. Sorry.
No, you. I can't do it without you. That was hard. But anyway, because you're looking at your face on the computer screen and you're left all alone. I
Terrible.
froze.
Terrible. And you have no control over how you freeze, right? So that's
Yeah,
out there
yeah. In a
forever.
weird way,
A
I'm getting
million
used to
people
this.
taking that picture.
I'm getting used to it because these meetings that we have all day are on this Zoom thing. It's so
Um,
nutty. Anyway, so we were talking a little bit about the big knife.
yeah,
It's funny
big
because I,
theaters, little theaters, right?
yeah, yeah,
Big
I was
theaters,
thinking
smaller
about the big
theaters.
knife. It's funny because when I saw Medea with George Lane, one
Yeah,
of my great agents at CAA. We were talking, and he was, he represents the Odets
yeah,
people, and he was talking about the big knife, and we were talking about that role in that play. I guess Marin was in that with you, right?
yeah. Marin was in it. A lot of good
Yeah, love
actors.
Marin. Great
Richard
actor.
Kind,
Oh, I love Richard.
Chip Zion. Yeah, a lot of people. A lot of good people. Anna Reeder.
Oh,
Um,
Connor Reader.
but yeah, I don't. I don't know the small theater versus big theater thing. Like I always joke that I don't care where it is.
Yeah, good.
I'll
Well, you have
act.
a lot to give. I
I'll
mean,
act anywhere.
you can reach it. Some people have a hard time reaching it. Your work is your emotions are big, so it reaches the back. All right, so what do you want to do? Like, I know that you were supposed to do a couple of plays, and now you're not doing them. Uh,
Yeah, a couple of
I
great
know,
plays.
major plays, right? View from the Bridge
Right.
and Streetcar Named Desire, right? You had those
Yeah,
two huge roles. God, when
yeah.
I heard you were doing Streetcar, I thought it would be so cool to see you in that part. Um,
Oh
so
gosh,
what?
I mean, talk
So
about a
what's
part.
happening? So you're and you were going to go to Australia, right, to do View
And
from
then
the
Rose
Bridge.
and I were going to go do View from the Bridge, another great play.
Yeah, great parts for you. It's like you had a great year, and
Yeah,
here you are sitting on a couch. So
I'll do it when we come back because we're going
yeah.
to come back.
Of course we're coming back. So what do you see that? Like, I mean, so you've got these two big roles on your agenda. Is that where you see yourself? Are you going to work you're interested in working yourself through those great parts, or you want to work
Yes.
on some new plays, or like what?
No, I
I'm
want
sure,
to. I mean, yes, but I do want to work on those great parts a lot,
yeah.
very much so. That is like, I'm not a big goal person. Like I never set out to. have a certain kind of career in any way, shape, or form. I knew I just wanted to act. And if I could at this point in my life say I would like to do these things, the place that it feels realistic for me to be able to do that are in the first place that I would love to be, which is in a theater. And those are really, when you think about the great roles,
Yeah.
you know, I don't, that's what I think. I don't
A
think,
lot of great actors, are gravitate toward the roles, those great roles, in those great plays. You must get offered new plays, and is there something like, what do you look for in a new play? Like, what could bring you? I mean, I worked with you on an old play, but and you do have are working through some really great parts on the older plays, and that might come from being a theater junkie all your life and reading all these great plays and thinking
yeah.
about you in those great roles. But how do you see yourself what do you look for in a new
But
play, if you ever do?
the new plays aren't like, it's just hard to say, right? Because the new plays you don't see coming, and then all of a sudden the motherfucker with the hat is on
Right.
you know, is there, and you go, this is a great American play, or like I thought Fucking A was really interesting and
Mm-hmm.
exciting when I worked on that, Susan Laurie Parks's play, and I
Mm-hmm.
just thought like, oh, I've never read anything like this, and I had done a couple of adaptations, translations, versions of the Scarlet Letter that never
Mm-hmm.
worked. And that thing blew my
Right.
mind. I couldn't
Right.
believe it. So, like, you
Right.
just never know when these opportunities are going to come up. So,
Yeah,
for
Motherfucker
me,
with a Hat was such a great part for you, and Chris Rock. You
yeah,
guys were terrific in that, and Gerges is like that sort of writer that I love. Gerges's writer and his
yeah,
writing and his characters, and
yeah,
in
me
a way
too.
like Rabe, he has a great gift for
Oh,
you know making
like the emotionally fraught,
yeah,
it's
emotionally fraught, but
everything is
also like
fraught.
telling great stories with
Totally.
dialogue. You know what I mean? Which is, like I say,
And
always the
he's
hardest
funny.
thing.
And he's funny. His characters are funny. And
His characters are funny
he's very, very
and
funny.
moving. I
Yes.
remember when I saw Phil's great production of the original production of Our Lady of 121st Street, in that little theater, and I was like, oh, I just felt like
Yeah.
what a great thing. That was a great collaboration, Phil and
And
Gergis
Steve,
in there.
I believe
Yeah,
Steven is for my money is like one of our great, 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 great American playwrights.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
agree.
those plays are bananas. They're so good.
They
I
are.
mean, I like to read them just to read them because the characters are so funny and they're so heartbreaking and honest, and they're the people you walk down the street seeing every day. They're just, like he has a real ear for humanity in
Yeah,
its
and New
most,
York,
and New York.
the
Yeah,
great New
yeah,
York that once
yeah,
was.
yeah,
as
yeah,
we sit here in this new kind of shell of New York, which is
yeah.
different. Um, but yeah, no, and I'm a director, so you don't have to talk about me. But like, what is it about, like, when you get what you get from a director? Like, what do you look for? Like, what when you say, oh, I loved working with that director, or I loved working with that director, what do they give you?
Well,
I mean, aside from
among
great shots in a movie that might come out great
among
too.
other things, I think like one of the most important things a director has to be able to do is figure out how to get everybody in the room to work together, to trust each other, to form bonds with each other. I think it's important. I don't know how else to work. I've never been in a situation in something that was good. Um, where that didn't happen, where like the room wasn't a collective, and I think that's the director's job to do that. And however they do that, I don't think any two directors do that the same way. But a director is like a psychologist. They have to
Mhm.
figure out who's who in the room and how to let the leader lead and how to let this person be them. And I don't know how that's. I think that's a really hard thing to do. And then when you figure that out, especially if it's a large cast, but then once you figure that out, you have to bring your vision, whatever that may be. Look, one of the things that I really loved about working with you, Scott, is that you said in the very first day, you were like, look, I think I hired the best actors here for these roles, and we're going to figure this thing out together. And that's like very That's a very, in a weird way, on one
I
hand
love
can
when people
sound.
say things that I've said that I can't remember saying or even thinking. It's interesting. But that happens
Does
to
it
me all the
happen?
time. It happens to
It
me all the
happens.
time where people
Oh
say, "Oh,
yeah.
you said blah," and
Oh
it's just
yeah. You also told us to go and memorize and learn the words,
yeah.
right?
Well,
It's a
that
long
one,
play.
yeah.
And that one and that, by the
I
way,
hate
that's a great
scripts.
example.
I hate
But that's a
scripts.
great example of how to get people together, because
Yeah,
Ethan and Josh and Wally and I hung out for like 2 months before rehearsal started and
I
became,
remember.
great friends.
I
And
wasn't invited to any of those parties, which I
no,
resented. It was
I
almost
know, but
like
you
I
didn't.
was the daddy, but I wasn't old, so I felt so
Yeah,
excluded from the group, and all my
yeah,
friends were going out and having fun, and I wasn't invited. But I heard.
right. But it makes sense too. But as a director for your show, you would want that.
Of
You
course,
would want that
I'm kidding.
unit
But
to
I
come
was
together.
jealous. I'm jealous I missed those moments because I've heard all points of views.
Yeah. But there, but all directors are different, and they just are. Like, I don't know. I learned like a long time ago to just not get used to any one way of working, right? Like you want to be able to work with everybody to at least walk down a different road, because I don't want to walk down the same road. So
Right.
I want to get taken down that road in a different way. And so it's something, it's different with everybody, and everybody, and the people who do this, they know, we have our own stories of like, you know, of directors, like how they are in the room. It usually consists of some kind of an impression, Um,
Oh, I know. I've heard some of myself, some impressions of me, and it's humbling to say the least.
it's humbling.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
humbling to say the
yeah,
least, is
yeah.
what
But
I
you're
would
loved.
say.
You're beloved by actors. You know that.
Oh, I feel it, and it's funny in moments like this. I mean, of course, I've never been in a moment like this. I really feel it because I feel the gravitational pull from my favorite actors and the people I've known over the years, and helping all of us, keep New Group going through this mess until
Yeah,
we're ready
yeah.
to. Was that Rose Byrne in the background over
That was
there?
Rose. Yeah,
Oh,
that was
come on,
Rose.
Rose, say hello.
That's hilarious.
Come on, Rose, say hi.
So, hi,
Everybody wants
Scott.
to say hi, Rose. You're talking to like eight
She can't
million
hear you,
people
but
right now, but you're used to that.
yeah. Um, yeah.
um,
But you know how it is, man. It's like
I
you miss
do.
being in the room. You just want to be in the room. That's the thing about creating theater, right? You have to be in this. You got to be in the same room.
Oh my God, it's only
Got to
been a
share
couple
the
of
air.
months, and I can't imagine what it's going to be like. But we're doing the best that we can, trying to keep people engaged with the content that we're producing, and hopefully, when we come out of this, we'll have some really cool. Because we're focusing on making cool work you know, while we're alone,
Yeah.
essentially, working on the other things, so that when we come out of this, we'll have some interesting things. So that being said, like, of course, you are like one of those actors. I always think of you as, I have a category of my friends that I think of as actors, but then I think like, are you ever going to write? Are you ever going to direct? Is that in the cards for you? Do you think about that, or are you an actor through and through?
I'm an actor through and through, but I always think about directing. I'm going to sound like I'm contradicting myself, but I'm not. I think about directing when I'm working on something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like late. I'm like, I get to work, and even with the best directors, I will think to myself, I'll take in what they're doing and and really kind of compartmentalize it from a
Mm-hmm.
different standpoint and go, that's really interesting the way that person just got the way he just thought of that, he or she just thought of that perspective, and it falls within a theme with them. I like that. And I'll think I'd like to use that one day. So just by virtue of thinking about using something like that, I do think about directing. And oftentimes I'm just vocal about it, and I'll say, well, what if I have learned the old trick of asking the question, posing questions. I pose a lot of questions. Well, what would happen if we didn't do it like that? What would happen if I came in like this and instead I did it like this? So I do that a lot. So I do
I
think
think that's
directing
good
is
though.
probably in the
I,
cards.
I think that's good. No, I mean it's important that the actor own and participate. I'm a fan of that. I think
I
that
know you are. I
You
feel like
know,
we never really blocked Hurlyburly.
you don't
Remember,
think
you
we
would say
did, but
like,
we did.
I know we did. I know we did. Because you would say like, I like it when it happens over there. And we'd be like, and then we would talk about it and go like, yeah, he's right. It is when it's better it's over there. But it's cool. We got to try it over here for a couple days.
Yeah,
That's
I
good,
think that
man.
it's no, I think it's good to try because you never know. The way that these things can tilt back and forth with just a gesture, or a
Yeah.
change in a chair, or somebody standing as opposed. I mean, it sounds corny, but like it's important to, I think it's important to, explore all angles. If the unfortunate thing
Yeah.
is that we don't always have as much time as we want to explore everything, but
Yeah.
we give it the old go. And I think,
Yeah.
yeah, you're one of those people that really takes the direction and goes with it. I know I said that already, but it's funny to hear you say how you pose these questions that you're thinking like a director, because I never would have thought that of you. So it's interesting that you actually are thinking that way, because to me you never seem like you're in your head. You to me always seem like you're in your gut or
Oh,
your
I
heart.
am.
It's so
Oh, right,
interesting.
right. Yeah. No, I can definitely be in both. And yeah, the thing with directing for me that scares me is the planning. That's
Yeah.
like what I'm not good at. So I don't know how I would plan a day.
Yeah,
That to
you'd
me
have to be
is,
organized. That's part of
yeah.
it. You have to be
It's
org
funny.
or
I don't
help
think
help
you
people
would.
have people help you be organized, which is
Yeah,
another
I don't
trick.
think I don't think he would mind my saying this, but this director I just worked with, Simon Stone, I very much enjoyed working with him, and I really liked his work. I know you saw that,
Yeah, yeah. Yerma.
Yerma that he
Yeah, I
did.
like
It was
Irma. Yeah,
quite
yeah.
great.
And
Yeah.
Medea. They were both really, I mean, they
Uh,
were both
yeah,
fascinating. Yeah,
yeah, and he's like inventive. He's like what you want in a theater director. He loves
totally.
the theater, and he's inventive, and he's and he's exciting, and visceral, and all that stuff, all
Well,
that
he
good
has
stuff. And
an idea, which is not a
yeah,
bad
right.
thing, especially when
It's
you're
not a
doing
bad thing to have.
Medea or
Yeah,
Yerma. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Yes, those
yeah,
two
yeah,
things need ideas, and his ideas were really interesting.
yeah. Well, he's like a lot of that rehearsal. And I learned a lot about different styles of rehearsing in other parts of the world, which
Of
I
course.
admittedly just don't know that much about. And he doesn't like to do, they don't like he doesn't like to rehearse a lot, right? So he likes to because I told him the thing about the planning, and he was like, "Dude, you don't have to, you don't. There's not much to plan. You don't really, and which is a different way of working. Of course, I'm used to do we do it straight 6 hours or do we do 5 hours without the lunch break? And these guys, they want to sit around and talk for like
Oh,
two
see, I
hours, and
hate
then
that. That's not my thing. I don't like talking about it. I
but
like
then
doing
you
it.
go and you see the results, and you're like, but no, we're not even talking about the play. Like, and
Oh, like lunch.
he's totally fine with you knowing that's the process, just like you'll be going like, we haven't even talked about this play yet. We haven't even opened the play. And he's like, it's good though. We're all here. We're just all here talking
Well,
and
that sounds like
being
a fun.
together.
That sounds like a great
It
process,
is,
because
believe it or
I
not,
hate
fun.
sitting around that thing of like people like always say to me, "Oh, we're not going to do a week of table work," and I'm like, "Oh no, I can't sit around a table and listen to people read a play over and over again. I like to get up
Mhm.
and inhabit it pretty quick."
Yeah. But that's the thing, right? It's like, boy, like they can all work. All those different processes can work. And oftentimes they do. No two directors are the same. No two, and that's what's exciting about working in the theater. You just never know. Like there's people out there I really want to work with because what I've seen blows my mind. And when I go, how did they do that? And then you discover a new way to work, and
Right,
it's
right. I had a
fucking
friend on
amazing.
the other end. I had an actor friend who was in a hit show, and I was like, "Wow, what a great show!" And he was like, "Oh my God." He was like, "It was just a terrible process. Like we
Yeah,
never, like we didn't really rehearse the scenes. The director said stand there and say your
yeah,
lines. It was like, if,
yeah.
it was like, and so that sounds to me like a director who's very prepared, knows
Right,
exactly what he wants, and is just telling people, what to
right,
do. But there was a lack of a sense of ownership, which in the
right, right,
theater
right,
always scares me, because as a producer, because obviously I produce my own work too, it scares me to think that somebody's going to have to do a show that I was involved with 8 times a week and feel like they have no spontaneity, or that they have to just do the same, like essentially, I mean,
right,
they call it chess pieces or whatever. And it was
right.
fascinating to me that I saw the result of the show and quite liked the show. And then the description of the process sounded absolutely horrific.
But you know what? Sometimes actors are wrong, and sometimes actors
Yeah.
are a certain way, and
Yeah, totally.
and then we all know those ones that are pessimistic about everything. And you know, I would probably lean hard the other way anyway. I'm a pretty uppity up guy, not uppity, up kind of optimistic and sort of game happy to be here kind of guy. So I really have not had an experience like that in the theater at all. I don't think. I've had some that were like, you know, stranger than others, but I don't know, the excitement of going out there and all going, all right, we're going on this crazy ride. I always think nobody knows, once we're out there in front of an audience, nobody knows it better than we do. So
That's right.
you cannot enjoy it and it cannot be your cup of tea, but you can't tell me it was wrong. It
Right.
was, you know, we got this. And
Right.
this is how this is what we have decided this is how we are interpreting this piece of art. And, you know, it's great. It's subjective, of course, um, but the different journeys on the way to doing that and opening up parts of me and, you know, that are opened up differently by different directors, that to me is very exciting, you know.
And I guess that's what the fun collaboration after the director leaves is between the actors and the audience, really. That I always say the
Right.
audience is the final character, right? Like you have to deal with them and, you know, and they become part of it in a way. You can't really ignore them. Some people say they ignore them, but I don't know how you possibly could.
It's also fun to like figure out the director, right? Like some people are set in like wanting to work a certain way. Well, what do you mean? Like I've told people about like my experience with Simon, and you know, and they'll be like, he was like, some of the old timers would be like, what do you mean you didn't spend more time on the play? What do you mean you only rehearsed for 3 hours? And I hope I've never become that person, honestly, because I just was excited to learn that. I mean, I was freaked out at first,
Yeah.
but then I was like, oh, let's see
Well, that guy's so
what that
interesting. I
brings
mean,
out
when
in me.
with Yerma, when they did the whole show in that glass box, I thought like, all right, well, good going. It was a very
You know,
fascinating.
Richard, did you come see Harry Ape? You saw Harry Ape, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so that's like another like crazy pants director who I love, Richard Jones, and
Well, that
he's
production was
like
crazy. I mean, it was
crazy,
yeah,
right? And
yeah.
there was and that guy
Did they do
never
that in
made me.
London? And then did you do that in London or did?
No, I didn't. Bertie Carvel did. The great
Oh,
Bertie
Bird. Oh,
Carvel
yeah, I
did,
love
but a
him. Yeah, great.
totally different production, like
Oh, yeah.
completely different in a small space. And we did it in the Armory, so it was really, really different from what I understand. And but like that guy never made me feel like there was going to be as much spectacle as there was behind me. Like I didn't even know people were going to be dancing. Like that was a whole other rehearsal that was happening, and he and I were working on this character for, you know, I came like he wanted me for rehearsal, just him and I, for 2 weeks before the 3 weeks with the rest of the cast. And that was phenomenal. Like I always think we don't have enough rehearsal anyway. And then when we're in rehearsal, I go, okay, I think we're ready for an audience by the end of that third week. But because I think that's because we're conditioned now to do that. But I
Yeah.
had an extra 2 weeks on this, and it was amazing. It was amazing. And maybe he'd mentioned what they were going to be doing, but like I didn't think about it really. I never thought about it. I just thought about the actual stakes that this character, the incredibly high stakes that O'Neill wrote for this character, and that the show that was going on around me almost happened incidentally. It was wild, wild.
That
Yeah.
sounds amazing. I want to hear more about that. But right now, we have to wrap up this part of the conversation.
Oh yeah,
So I want
wow.
to say thank you for this part. And we have to end this. It's going so great. And I want to say thank you to everybody who joined us to watch us today. I wish I could see everybody's face. For those who are joining us for the Drinks With, our virtual cocktail party, we're going to take a 5-minute break. And then we're going to reconvene on Zoom via the link that was emailed to you. So you got to get out of this, and then you got to go on the Zoom meeting. And I'm really excited to try this special Hurlyburly Negroni that was crafted for Bobby by our friend Sammy Katz, the creator of the blog A Girl's Guide to Drinking Alone. I suggest you all look at A Girl's Guide to Drinking Alone. It's really fun. And I just think that Sammy has really onto something with her perceptions of that. And I hope somebody on television buys that idea because it's such a funny idea. And for those who are not joining the cocktail, we're going to be here next week at 4 o'clock. And probably for the next 20 years, we'll be here at 4 o'clock on Wednesdays. And Derek
Don't say
McLean,
that.
who is our, I don't really mean, I'm kidding, who is our set designer, who is a
I
set
won't be able to
designer.
play any of those parts. It'll just be grandpas.
Exactly.
20 years of Zoom readings.
Exactly.
And
We'll have
then
you back
I'm
every
Mark
year.
Twain in a one-man
Anyway,
Mark
Derek
Twain show.
McLean, who is the great set designer, Tony-winning set designer, he's designed every show essentially that I've done at New Group and many, many more on Broadway and everywhere. And he's an amazing thing. He did the Oscars. He designed the Oscars for many years, and he did all those live musicals on NBC. So that'll be a fun and interesting discussion. So come back to us on Facebook, and that's it for this. So I'll see you, the rest of you, on Zoom in 5 minutes, and you too, Bobby, and thank you. And
All right.
I'm going to go get
That was
my
fun.
Negroni or something like that. I don't have all those ingredients, but I'm going to try.
Bye,
All right,
everybody.
I'm signing off.